Welcome to the Worth Listening podcast, where we focus on having positive and productive conversations around money. I'm your host, Lauren, a 4-time Olympian and certified financial planner. On this show, my guests share their money stories. Everyone has a unique story and experiences both wins and losses when it comes to money. My intent is to give listeners something they can relate to, something that builds their courage to be open and take control of their own money story. When I'm not creating a great show for my listeners, I'm running my company, Worth Winning, where I help individuals and families organize their finances. Check us out at worth-winning.com. All right, now on with the show. Happy holidays, everyone. We are just 3 days away from Christmas. If you are listening to this on the Tuesday that the episode drops, we are just a few days after Hanukkah. And if you're a person that celebrates Kwanzaa, we are about a week away. No matter your beliefs or traditions that you celebrate, this time of year is where we are all doing a lot of reflecting. The world generally is in a jovial spirit where we are all coming together, and family and friends and support and love is the thing that is front and center. My hope is that we can start to create love that is year-round and constant, and that we feel that as a country and all across the globe constantly. Love and giving and support and cheerfulness is not meant for just one time of the year. It's meant to be year-round. And as we head toward the end of 2020, I know we are also all in a place of reflection. I've heard quite a few "I can't wait for 2021" comments. And while I understand the reasoning behind it, 2020 has been a little bit extraordinary. I don't know that simply the clock striking 12 on January the 1st is going to be the thing that is going to change our trajectory and the way that things are happening right now. What I do know is that if we take time to reflect, learn from what we've experienced, and take responsibility for modifying our own behavior, and we all do that, we can have a meaningful impact on not just our own 2021, but the way that others respond to the events of 2020 and are preparing for the events of 2021. I always say it at the end of every episode, but I wanted to make a point to put it on the front today, that I'd love for others to come on and share their money story. So as we head into 2021 and we think about the new theme, and as we think about new themes for the podcast and the frequency with which we would like to air shows, a lot of that is going to be dependent on what you, the audience, says you want. I hope you enjoy listening to other people's money stories, that you've learned some things, that you realize that you are not alone in whatever your financial journey is, that other people are experiencing things similar to you, and that you are not alone, and that other people are experiencing things similar to you. But also, I hope that you feel empowered by listening to someone else's story to share your story. Even if you're not comfortable sharing it on the podcast right now, to share it with someone else close to you. Because when we are all talking about money, we are talking about the things that we're experiencing as it relates to money, what our strategies are, how we want to do better, what our goals and our aspirations are, and how money can be used as a tool to get there. Everybody wins. Someone can learn something from you. You can learn something from that other person. But we first have to feel comfortable discussing it. And I hope this podcast is one vehicle that is helping you feel more comfortable in having money conversations with others. If we're still a work in progress, that is okay. One day at a time, one podcast at a time. And I think one of the things that we can do, like I said, as we're wrapping up 2020, is start to reflect on what it is that we want to achieve and start moving in that direction. So let's talk a little bit about reflection. Reflection helps you to understand what you already know. It gives you the opportunity to identify what you need to know in order to be better in a particular subject. It creates space for you to make sense of new information as you look back on things, and then to get feedback or give yourself feedback on the context of what those experiences were. And last but not least, I believe that reflection provides the opportunity for you to create new choices to further your learning based on the information that you learn by doing the reflection process. So what I want to encourage you all to do is review your 2020. What goals did you set this year? What goals did you accomplish that you set this year? What goals did you maybe not accomplish because something came up? What is that because? Not just because the pandemic. I know that's been our go-to. Everybody has been deeply, deeply affected. And I don't want to minimize that or say that that is not important, but we've got to dig deeper and look at the root of some of the causes of the events that have happened in our lives. And as it pertains to goals that we did not achieve, we need to maybe talk through moving past the disappointment of the things that didn't happen this year. We've got to get contingency plans in place so that 2021 does not become a repeat of 2020. Grab a pen and paper, write these things down. What are you grateful for? We've all had wonderful things happen to us this year. We may have experienced loss of income, loss of a loved one, loss of a relationship, but there are some wonderful things that either have come out of those specific negative experiences or that came separate of those things. Our minds are kind of set to grateful. I'm not grateful, blah, blah, blah. And you list the 10 things that didn't go right this year. But we've got to start training our minds to think about the things that are wonderful and positive in our lives and to really focus on those things and make a list of them and show yourself how blessed you are because of the wonderful things. So what wins did you have? Some of them might even be wins that you didn't even know that you were working towards. As you think about and write these things down, because I believe that writing them down makes them real. So, if you're driving and listening to the podcast, don't write and drive and listen. That would be bad. But if you're in a place where you can write these things down, please do, because writing them down makes them real. These are intangible things that are in our mind, events that happen that they were real in that moment, but they're not real anymore. They're now a memory. But writing them down and putting them in front of you, they become real. And that gives us an opportunity to be able to process them, process the events around them. And if they're wins and wonderful things, then we want to recreate those. We want 10 more wins in our lives in 2021. We don't want to kind of stay where we are, even if it was really awesome. We're trying to go next level with the wins. If that's more love in your life, more support around you, more income, better opportunities, a new job opportunity, whatever that win is, a promotion, successful in vitro fertilization. If you want to manifest those wins, we first have to write them down, understand the things that went right that allowed us to have that win, and then put some ideas in place to make choices so that we can have more wins. As we think about starting to plan for 2021, we're not really in the goal setting planning part of the podcast just yet. That's going to be next week, but I want you to think about what can you do as a point of reflection in 2020 to get yourself prepared to plan for 2021. What new narrative do you need to create in your life? What kind of positive affirmations do you need to tell yourself to start changing your mindset to get ready to accomplish what you want to accomplish in 2021? As an example, one of the new narratives I hear quite a bit is I don't do resolutions because I always break them. So resolutions are not the same thing as goal setting, and you need kind of action items in order to pursue your goals. So resolutions are like what you're not going to do. And then you said, I broke it and I didn't do it. And it's important to point out that not being perfect doesn't mean that you should altogether throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not big on the resolution part of things. More so, I'm in the goal setting theme. And you may say the words are tomato, tomato, but the big point is that you need action items, and you also need to give yourself permission to fail, which is what I think resolutions don't allow for. You break them and then you quit altogether. But giving yourself permission to fail at what your goal is, it says, okay, I messed up, but I'm going to continue on. I did not do this perfectly, but I am not going to quit. And you have action items written. So it's a process that you're going to follow. And if you don't follow it all the way through, you go back to the action items and you do them over again. And that's what's going to allow you to succeed. So take a moment and think about some of those resolutions that you've set in the past. How can we turn those resolutions into goals? And how can we put action items with those goals so that you can turn them into something that's meaningful? I think this is an important part as we prepare to be able to set goals for 2020. Last but not least, as we reflect on 2020, I would challenge you to think about how you define success. This word is going to be different for every single person. Success for me is not going to be the same thing as it is for you. I always ask my clients, is there a number that you have in mind that is very important to you? And they're just like, what do you mean, Lauryn? I need some more information. Give me some details. Give me some examples. And I'm like, no. You simply get to answer the question because there is no right or wrong answer to the question. It's simply, is there something that is important to you from this standpoint? In the same vein, how do you define success works the same way. Success for me is not going to be the same thing as it is for you. The example I like to give is someone wrote a check for $1 million. I would gladly accept it as a gift. I think most people would. But my goal is not to become a millionaire. My definition of success is not being a millionaire. That may be someone's definition, but that does not necessarily have to define success. Success could be raising children that are not criminals, You're really successful if you can accomplish that, especially if you got lots of kids. The odds are against you. I got 5 sisters and 2 brothers, and I tell people all the time, I have awesome parents because we are all productive citizens in society who are kind and loving individuals. And the more people there are, the more likely there's going to be a bad apple. So I feel like my parents are super successful. I don't know that's their measure of success, but it's really open-ended is my point about how you define success. It can be being the best spouse that you can be. It can be reaching a new height in your career. It can be bringing 3 people along to mentor every year or each quarter of a year, reading a new book every month. There's tons and tons of different things that you can do to define what success is for you. And I'd love it if you guys even wanted to write in and share. It's podcast@worth-listening.com. So if you want to share how you define success, please do. I'm happy to hear those messages. But as we wrap up 2020, ask yourself these questions. So let's just run over them one more time. Did you set any goals? What goals did you not do well? Which goals did you achieve? What were the action items in you being able to achieve those goals? What prohibited you from reaching the goals that you did set for 2020? What are you grateful for? What wins did you have? What are some of the action items that you want to do in 2021? Not resolutions, goals and actions that you want to achieve in 2021. And then last but not least, how do you define success? I want 2021 to be the best year ever for you. And I think it starts by defining the events of 2020 and building on them to make ourselves most likely to reach our full potential. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to those who are celebrating that in 3 days. And I'll talk to you all soon.